Hi everyone, happy Friday. I have a little video about Anore today, which is kind of a sad one. Last week Anore was diagnosed with hip dysplasia. So her hips obviously are ball and socket joints, and the ball and the socket don't go in together properly. Her left hip goes in quite shallow, and the ball doesn't go all the way into the socket the way that it's supposed to. And her right hip has adjusted the ball so that instead of a nice round ball and socket, the ball portion of her hip is like a peg. It's square. And there's a lot of bone rubbing against bone because she doesn't have the right amount of stuff to keep the joint moving. So yeah, we're very sad. So I want to talk a little bit about hip dysplasia. It's really common, well, not really common. It's more common in larger dogs than smaller dogs. It is often very genetic. However, diet and injuries can all have an impact on it. For her, she's the perfect weight for her. We don't know of any injuries that could have caused it prior to us getting her. I mean, again, we got her at 3 weeks. She had a shoulder injury, but I don't know that that would have really affected her hips very much. So we think it's mostly genetic. As far as treatment options, there would have been a treatment option if we had caught it when she was younger than 10 months. We are going for, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, we are going to go for a femoral head osteotomy. Essentially what that means is that we're going to go ahead and they're going to go in and cut off or take off the tops of the ball joint. And then through healing and physical therapy and rehab that we'll do with her, the scar tissue forms basically what's a false joint. So it won't work exactly the same, but it'll work functionally about the same. She'll be pretty much pain-free for the rest of her life. She might not have, there's a possibility of some limited range of motion, and she might not be able to run quite as much as she would if she didn't have hip dysplasia, but she'll be able to run more than if we didn't do anything. Yeah, baby. And she's going to live a very long, happy, healthy life, largely pain-free. So yeah, the other option for treatment, which would be generally more suitable if she had, if she were older, would be a full hip replacement, which obviously we would take the hips out. You can do just one or the other, but we would have to do both for her because both of hers are pretty bad. We could do one or the other, and they would take the whole hip out and replace it with metal and plastic and things like that. That's quite expensive, and also, you know, if we could do it for her, I'd be tempted to give her the most pain-free life that we can, but I don't, you know, it's just financially an extraordinary expense. We don't, the femoral head osteotomy is going to be significantly cheaper, so we're working on getting that scheduled for her. According to the internet, like PetMed and I think the AKC website, the recovery period will be about 6 weeks, where we'll be doing rehab and things like that for her. And then she should be back to normal and good to go. So fingers crossed, she'll be doing good. I'll do hopefully another video on the symptoms. I just haven't had a chance to video her symptoms much to give you an idea of how we could tell that it needed to be checked out. Because again, you can only really tell hip issues with an x-ray. So unless the doctors are noticing something wrong when you take them to the vet, you know, it's kind of up to you to say, hey, there's something going on with my dog, which is what we did. So anyway, I'll do another video later on what some of her symptoms are, obviously before surgery. So anyway, have a great weekend, guys, and we'll see you next week.